circumstance, immense pain. Kibet had been extremely careful. He never took money from anyone because he tried to conceal his whereabouts. Those days before, we know the communication you guys we have had with him prior, so don't play down on this one. So we will focus tomorrow on what needs to be done. But you guys are 10 steps behind a generation that wants change. You're 10 steps behind a generation that is not glued to personality but truth. A generation that's not interested in power but change for their country. A generation that is not looking to benefit for themselves but to benefit for the whole country to benefit. So let's not play games. You guys were denying it on the TL. We have picked every clue. The back and forth now you're being used to pacify us. It will not work. It will not work. We want answers and we want the truth. Because if you cannot take care of people who are doing the problem with the revolution has been casualties and fatalities. But with the work he was doing, reduced fatalities. And he took the message out, never took any coin from anyone. So don't lie to us. Do not do it. He had friends. He did. So, yes, I know you have a generation that wants us to look the other way. It will not happen. It will not happen. So don't tell us he was picked from town and that's enough. We know how a few things work. So for that reason, you guys need to regroup and come out and tell us the truth. But for now, we focus on the protest. We focus on end abduction. It had been hours. I was calling you guys out when you were calling us NIS when we held the space of Find Kibet. And we wore that label as a mark of honor. And there was not a single post on all your handles about Find Kibet. When you came back, you told us that you guys were investigating. You're not an investigating agent. Anytime someone is missing, we're gonna just say you create awareness immediately. So why was Kibet issue handled differently? Why would other people come your way, get abducted, and you still thought it was wise?
Right.
So it's not us against you. It's about facts. We're trying to align the ducks and see where he fell through the cracks. But for now, we blame you. We blame you just because we are quiet. And the fact that you guys were trying to talk us down, calling us in, I'm not sure you can. I don't think you guys can heal the scars you have caused us. For us, it's not about tribe. It's not about who you guys want for president. We are open to listen to as many people as possible. But we cannot trust someone who does not see the need. You cannot protect a few lives. How can you protect the country? If you guys can descend to that level of arrogance when you're just a small team, look at why we're suffering today. It's because of the arrogance of the government. So don't lie to us. We know. We've been tagging on this issue. We don't have any. I was even being insulted that I didn't want to untag. I was on a space as a co-host on his birthday. So you guys cannot get away from this. You lied to us. We cannot trust you. You've wounded us. You have shown us who you are. So, I yield the mic. But this is very, very wrong. We want honesty. What is here, you can tell me. Politicians are very well briefed. Politicians know how intelligence works. They know the people of interest when he declared his. the bid, he became extra interested because I want to know who he talks to, who is funding him, what information he has access to. So to play games with someone's child, you had no reason to meet Kibet. He was already doing the work.
Thank you,
Nothing, Kay. Muthiora has dropped. She's not here. Thank you for sharing and your pain. And for those who don't know what goes on in space, the day Kibet was abducted, Nothing Kay and some other people started a group to demand for his release, and that whole drama played out online. And I think it's a generational thing. I think Nothing Kay told me it's called generational intelligence, where these two generations are coming together to work for a common cause. Mudira is back. Maybe he can respond after we've had a few more speakers. And I did see those remarks, and I think they were called for. I think silence was even a better way to deal with this. So thank you all these young ladies an apology for what happened on that day online. And then I'll leave it to you because I know some of us went and made comments. Communication is very, very important. And so the way they reacted, that was someone's child was missing. And then to come and label them, even if they were what you're telling them they were, it still didn't answer the question. So I think that was not a very good way of handling a crisis. So Modera, I'll let you respond later, but Dr. Tamaro, you have 2 minutes because we need to close the show. Now, Dr. Tamaro.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Udemta, Hillary, and Abdi, our host and co-host. You know, this issue of abduction, it has been something that has been eating our generation. You know, it started a long time ago during the Moise era, and I think Ruto was in that regime during the Moise era, and I think he's trying to bring it back. And the reason this guy is bringing this thing back is because I think he's not confidence whatever he just does. And I feel like he has lost confidence, so he gets intimidated too easily. And that's why you see him spilling money everywhere. Wherever you choose some few people to go and represent you in the dialogue, he just spills money there, and you see, and they get swallowed there. So the only language that can be understood by this guy is we get out in big numbers and make him understand, make him know that whatever that he's doing is not very accommodative in our lives. And you see, other than thinking about right now, we also have to think about the future. The kind of world or the kind of country that we're going to leave behind when our generation is over. So we want to build a generation that actually every generation will remember that at least we changed something. And please, I want to urge you guys, wherever we're going out there tomorrow, don't always be alone. Like Dr. Miguna said, don't be alone. Always walk in masses, walk in numbers, and when you walk in numbers, it is very difficult even for those rogue policemen to come and just abduct you or maybe do whatever they want to you. But when you walk alone, and it's easy for them to do anything to you. And we should not actually engage much in pointing fingers amongst ourselves, because that's what these people want. That's what he wants. So that when we point fingers to each other, so probably when you're not hated, it is easy for an enemy to defeat you. For now, the situation that we have at hand is we want to find our brothers who have been abducted by this government, and the only way we can find them or we can try to trace them is by being united and working together, so that at least we can make some progresses. But if we keep pointing fingers, yeah, I know we are in bitter. We've lost people throughout the riots that we've been having because people have been shot. But we cannot just dwell there, because freedom does not come easy. And for freedom to come, for something good to come, there must be struggles. And probably, even when our country was gaining independence, there was some bloodshed. I'm not saying that we are going for bloodshed, but I'm saying that if things happen like that, it's something that we can be prepared for. But always take care of yourself wherever you are, and always try to make sure that your brother is keeper, so that we will work together. We shall never ever walk alone. We shall never ever walk alone. That is the motto that you're supposed to have. We shall never walk alone. And tomorrow, as we go out in big numbers, I wish you all the best, and may we just be victorious and make this guy go home in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tamaro. Steve Juma, and focus on your submissions. I know something else has happened, and people might want to address it, but kindly share what you had prepared. Modiora will address the Nothing K's remarks. Thank you, Steve Juma.
Thank you, Redemptor. I don't even want to go like May you thought. Mine is very direct, and mine is a question to Wakili Ndegwa. Wakili, we are going to the street, and I'm ready even as I speak now. Now, what do I do to if I find people who purport to be security officers, while the Inspector General of Police have denied that these are not abducted, as they have also explained how police officers should behave. The DCI have denounced the existence of abductors in the country. And then the former deputy president, who was second in command, has also given us a hint of a possible 21st floor by so-called Abel, who operates as maybe shadowing Inspector General. What do we do to unmarked vehicles? People come to arrest us. Do we still negotiate with them? What do we do? Does the law allow me to defend myself? That is one. That is a question to you. Two, then for those who will be going to the street, I insist, like my brother there has spoken out clearly, that people need to walk in group. And now I want to tell people that if you have a phone, please take your pictures in a landscape format and ensure that you share the images or the pictures that you've taken there of any in excess or any form of brutality meted on the protesters with instantaneous immediacy, so that should your phone get cracked or lost, maybe it's been confiscated, we can be able to see what you've shared. Don't go there to TikTok or to do those great content. We are at war, in quotes. We are at war because negotiation has failed. Abduction is on and very rampant. We need now to speak and defend our country. Very, very good crossover. Ndegwa, I want to hear from you as Wakili perspective. Do I have a right to protect myself?
Thank you, Steve. I'll give that Wakili Ndegwa, if he's still here, to answer that question. Tom Boyer, and then Brian Okech.
Thank you very much for this debate. I must say that the law recognizes the right to self-defense. Number two, the National Police Service Act has given the orders within which, or the procedure within which a police officer is identified. For example, you must have a uniform, you must have a label, you must have his police number, or you must have an identification. Any person who falls outside the scope or the ambits of the description of a police officer within the National Police Service Act is to my interpretation not a police officer. That is a person who needs to be dealt with as a criminal, the same way we will deal with a criminal. First, in this label force, because we are dealing with a government that has been infiltrated by, or a government that has is being operationalized like a criminal enterprise. So any person who does not come with identifiable insignias, we shall deal with that person like a criminal who is infiltrating our peaceful protest. Number two, they will not just come to the streets and infiltrate us. They may also come to our houses. And the question is, when they come to our houses, how do we deal with that person? And what does the law say? A permit me to invite you when we retire. You go and Google what Sir Edward Coke said about a house and a castle. That was in 1634. Justice Coke said that a man's house is his castle and the fortress. Therefore, you must defend it, and when you are there, you are allowed to defend yourself in whatsoever manner. That when a person pushes you too much to a corner up to your castle, what do? You defend yourself. So when a person who comes to your house in this particular time without identification, without the proper procedure of search warrants or arrest warrants, that person is a goon, that person is a criminal. You are allowed by the law to defend yourself when you are in a castle. Justice Cox says a man's house is his castle. So do not just allow people to infiltrate and penetrate your castle. Defend your castle. It is in your castle that you can only find safety. When a person pursues you in the streets, pursues you on the roads, up to your castle, what are you to do? You have to retaliate by defending yourself. And they must understand that this time round, it is not going to be business as usual. Yesterday, what happened in Nyandarua? When that police officer threw the Senator Karongo Adangwa before the regional DCI, police came to interrupt our peaceful rallies. Boys and men pursued them until they were taken back to the police stations. So any person who comes to infiltrate our peaceful protest, and remember the street has been constitutionally institutionalized, we'll be doing a constitutional process tomorrow. The Constitution recognizes the street as an alternative avenue where people can voice their voices. If the government is deaf, that person who comes to interrupt the constitutional process is a person who is violating the Constitution. So you must deal with that person in a manner in which you will deal with a person who is violating your rights. So you come and interrupt with our Article 1, our power belonging to the people. We shall not allow them to come and interrupt with Article 3, the responsibility to defend and uphold our Constitution. We shall not allow them to come and infiltrate and violate Article 10, the question of the rule of law, the participation of the people, the rights of the people. We shall not allow them to interfere with the provisions of Article 37, because tomorrow all those articles will be in play. So we shall be executing a constitutional.
You to just address a bit of what Nothing Ke has spoken to, but I wouldn't want it to be a long presentation. Maybe it can be dealt with. But because it's been shared publicly, you can just plan on how to go on from here, because we can't prosecute the whole case on this space.
Yeah, I just want to add a little. Okay. I just want to add a little, Madiora, before you go. I think I would really appreciate Nothing Ke for sharing her perspective, and I understand.
We don't want to discuss Okia at all at any given point. Don't talk about Okia. It's not only Kibet who is abducted, but other people abducted. Those people are saying Okia's issues. We are not here to solve Okia's case. We are here to talk the issues and what is happening tomorrow. Madiora, forgive me about that, but that's the way to go. Go ahead.
Okay.
Don't talk about Okia anymore.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I want to remind us about the events that led to the release of the Kitengela 3. There was concerted efforts and pressure from all quarters. We went to court. We did all we could. And eventually, after 32 days, at the height of the Inspector General of Police, who was then in acting capacity, having been found culpable and even charged, they got released. It's the pressure that we applied that got the Kitengela 3, even after 32 days being released. So this is the only language that this government understands, and if we understand that, then we know we must come out tomorrow forcefully and know that we are doing our patriotic duty. Now, Embu has done it so far, so we are not doing it for the first time tomorrow. Embu has called out the government and have demanded for an end to abductions in Kenya. We did see citizen engagement in Bomet today. We saw it in Nyandarua. Kenyans have been active. It's only in Homa Bay where citizens did not take appropriate actions even though they had an opportunity. Now, you listening to us tonight have an opportunity to come out tomorrow in whatever way or form. Do not let this opportunity pass. Our brothers need us. They cannot speak for themselves. They cannot act. We can. Let's seize this opportunity, because if we don't, there'll be more tomorrow and the day after, and Kenya will no longer be the republic that we gave unto ourselves when we fought the colonialists and eventually fought for the new constitution that governs us. Let us get it done. Inawezekana tukasukuma hii serikali na tukatekeleza jukumu letu kama wananchi la kulinda katiba na kuhakikisha kwamba the rule of law, all that matters in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Brian Okeche is the one who has not spoken. Brian.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. So my issue, there's someone who said something about matatus not being allowed in town. And I wanted to address the issue and suggest maybe we can work with the riders, because most of them won't be working. So everything will be at standstill. So we can use the riders. They know the panya routes. To arrest them is not so easy. And here there's an issue of the ghetto people where only the ghettos around the town ndo watu walifika town. Hao wengine wote wenye wako karibu na town, they never came to town because hawana fare, wako na njaa. You know, there's a bit of confidence mtu akiwa na some fare kwa pocket, even if it's 200 shillings. So there are people who are willing to give, and there are others who are willing, who are waiting to receive something. Say in Boxengu Imeja, there's some people asking for something for fare. Maybe we can engage after this on my pinned post. Tuone kama tunaweza saidiana for those who are willing to give something. And those who cannot give something directly, maybe unapatana na your nduthi guy, unampatia fare ama for fuel. He carries 2 people wanafika town. Yeah, that was my only thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, there are people who are willing to support. You can reach out to him in his inbox if your inbox is open. We have a new speaker, Jonathan. Jonathan, can you unmute your mic and talk to us before we make our final submissions? Okay, Dr. Milton, although you had said you might have made your final submission, are you available to talk to us?
Yes, I'm here, and I just want to say something very quickly. And this is something I've shared this on the comment section. Now, there's something that is going on, and I want our people to be very aware of it. Please, if you can go to Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasser Abdullahi's handle, you will see what he has tweeted. I have put that on the comment section, and this is what he said. So allow me to read it because I don't want to paraphrase. He says, I just want to see how tomorrow's demonstration will turn out. First, if our brothers from Luo Nyanza sit out, and they probably will sit out, it will then be a sporadic, a tribal demonstration and not national. Historically, Luos is the only community that demonstrates and dies for national causes. Secondly, Whereas I strongly support the effort to hold President William Ruto accountable and force him to stop abductions and enforce the rule of law, in brackets, and I have personally told him so. This refrain of Ruto must go is tribal nonsense that Tana and Yala rivers and not a single soul demonstrated. Go ask Dr. Fred Matiani if you doubt me. Ruto should be held to account, but not because he is Kale. If those saying Ruto must go are genuine advocates for reforms, why have they not joined me and Nelson Harvey in the war against Jurispesa? Third, those pushing tribal agenda of Ruto must go must know a dialectically opposed tribal force can always meet them. And considering how fragile the state in Africa is, it isn't in the interest of anyone to see Kenya go that route. Now, good people, hii kitu imenikasirisha sana, and I would want us to address senior counsel Ahmed Nasir. He is blackmail. This is very ethnic, and he wants to brand those of us who are against his friend William Ruto, who is unleashing terror on Kenyans. But now, calling for Ruto must go is tribal, and we are simply calling Ruto out because he's challenging. This is nonsense that we must not entertain. And I'm encouraging all of us, ndugu zetu from Luo Nyanza, ndugu zetu from other parts of the country, this is the kind of arrogance that we must stand against. And I'm encouraging you, tafadhali, Ahmed Nasir has got away with so much in this country over the last few years. And I think it is time for people to put him where he belongs by speaking boldly against him. And I don't fear him. I honestly don't fear him. And I want to ask all of us, this is a time to show him that whatever nonsense he is spewing and speaking is unacceptable, and it has no place in this country. Prejudices and innuendos like the one he is trying to propagate is unacceptable, and they have no place in modern day Kenya. Kenyans come out in large numbers tomorrow. There is no tribalism, there is no tribal tag that is going to stop the Ruto must go chorus. And it is not just a chorus, it is the right thing for the Kenyan people to demand. And therefore, please go to that tweet, deal with Ahmed Nasir only the best way we can as patriots, because Ahmed Nasir is a beneficiary of rogue regimes and systems, and I dare say, including the Jurispesa that he's talking about. They have been sent, like I said in my opening remarks, by William Ruto to discredit Martha Koome and the judiciary, because it has become impossible to hatchet that work for William Ruto in intimidating Martha Koome out of office. Let us not I know they will come for me, but I don't fear for better governance. Somebody in the name of William Ruto is unacceptable. We must deal with it. We must run them out of town. Sorry, I've come back and I'm ranting. Ni ile hasira niko nayo because of this tweet. This is simply not right. If we had nothing else motivating us to come out tomorrow, then this tweet by Nasir should inspire us in our millions to come out and force these idiots out of office and out of power. And I'm done. I'm shaking with rage right now. It is unacceptable. It is simply unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I cannot believe someone is telling us that other people murdered Kenyans and got away with it. I cannot believe that. So you're saying because it happened before, now we let it keep happening? And now, speaking of addressing that, I was not going to, before I allow Ndegwa, Professor Kibuda Kibwana is here, karibu sana. I would want you to address that tweet. Kindly read it. There's something I want to highlight today. I'm going to be very bold and say I advocate for brutalized Kenyans. That has been my area of activism. And I can tell you for free, the body count on this regime has never happened before. Because we are counting everything, including the massacre in Kilifi, including the bodies in the quarry, including the young people of the Genzs. So you cannot come and tell us because the others were not called to account and prosecuted. Now this is tribal. This is about a generation that defends the truth and values human life. And the time to play politics with people's lives has come to an end. And so I would also like Milton get out of hand because I'm also equally upset about those remarks. You cannot politicize everything, including human life. Good governance and justice.
I think that we are being tribal when we hold the government to account. It's your solemn duty and the highest calling of any citizen to hold his government to account. In any case, transparency.
I lost you a bit. Continue.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Continue.
Well, I was saying that it is unfortunate that when people comes out to call or to hold the government to account, they are being labeled as tribal. It is not our liking. It's the constitution that dictates that the government must be held to account. It's the constitution that dictates that a government must be transparent. It is the constitution that dictates that the government must be guided by the rule of law. And when a government fails to meet those tenets, it is the responsibility of every citizen to uphold and to remind that government that it must be called to order. It must be reminded that it must act within the four corners of the Constitution. Therefore, it is not tribalism for us when we come out to hold Mr. William Ruto and his rogue regime to account. It is what is expected of us. It is a legitimate expectation that the Constitution has bestowed and dictated us to do. Therefore, I would also wish to distance myself from the sentiments being aired by senior counsel. It is an attempt to profile this struggle. That's a struggle that is only coming from one side of the community. That is not true. It is not true that Zakali Jinu is being hoarded out of office. It is a rogue regime that is being hoarded out of office. Unfortunately, the person who is at the helm is Zakali. We never made it that way. He's the one who sought for the votes. And when we voted for him, we never considered him to be a Kalenjin. We voted for Mr. William Samoei Ruto. 7.2 million votes. Those were not Kalenjin votes. Those were Kenyan votes. And therefore, any person to attempt to hide behind the mantra of tribalism is a person who has lost the script. We cannot then be told that a particular government was not held to account because it was a government that was constituted of Kikuyus. They were lucky that we had not tasted the waters of freedom. We have now tasted and drunk from the well of freedom. And the well of freedom is quenching our thirst. And we cannot quench our thirst and hide behind the veil of tribalism. If Mr. Kenyatta was lucky that this was not there by then, let him come back and attempt to do what Mr. William Ruto is doing. We'll still rise up against him. I was critical of Mr. Kenyatta when he was the president. I was still speaking that the Constitution must reign supreme. I was still saying that the people are sovereign. So nobody should label us tribalists when we call Mr. William Ruto to order. We don't care whether it's a Kikuyu, whether it's a Kalenjin, a Luo, or whoever script and creed he comes from. Our Constitution is a guiding cardinal north. It is the one that has given us the responsibility to hold government to account. If you feel that that you do not need to be called to order. Shutdown will not be here tonight. Most of us would be asleep, waiting to face tomorrow. But we cannot sleep when debate is not easy. We cannot sleep when Muteti is not easy. We cannot sleep when Billy his whereabouts is not known. So when they attack one of us, they attack all of us. Tibet is not a Kikuyu, Tibet is not a Luo, Tibet is not a Kamba, is not a Mijikenda, is not a Makonde, is not an Indian, is a Kalenjin. So this rock regime is a regime that does not choose which tribe or creed you come from, which ethnic extraction you come from. A rock regime is a rock regime for all of us. And therefore we must face it and call it out. That is not a Kalenjin regime. It's a regime that is wrong, being led by a Kalenjin. If he was given his dogs and call his people to order, he would have reminded them there is a constitution. If Tibet committed any crime, there is a court of law. If Billy committed any crime, the court of law is there. If Muteti committed any crime, there is the rule of law and there are courts and procedures. But he decided to abduct him. You cannot abduct them and expect us to remain silent. We must express our rage, our anger, and our hatred for this regime in the highest voice that we can manage to attain. Therefore, I distance myself and call people out to demonstrate to any person who does not believe that this is a call for freedom to come tomorrow and witness people marching to freedom, people fighting for freedom, and a generation that is fighting to liberate itself. I pen off.
Thank you very much, Wakili. We have Professor Kimeumana, who has come in a bit late. I don't know if you are listening incognito and if you've heard the conversation, but we actually end on a bad note because abductions are already a difficult subject, a reality. Families do not have their young ones. And then someone goes and says, if tomorrow the demonstrations go this way, then he's actually playing political analysis with people's lives. So you found people's temperatures have gone up again. So Professor Kimeumana, kindly join the conversation and make your submission.
Thank you very much, Hillary, Redemptor, Abdi, and all the general and all colleagues who are in this space. Actually, I was listening because I was traveling. I have been listening for a long time, but just more recently listened. I came on board to listen, and I wanted to listen, but actually it was what Dr. Milton said, which made me ask for an opportunity to pitch in. But let me say, before even commenting on that, let me say, as Degwa and Dr. Milton very ably explained, Article 3 of the Constitution says every person has an obligation to respect, to uphold, and to defend the Constitution. So, apart from the Constitution elsewhere giving us, the right to demonstrate, to picket, to express ourselves, and all those political and civil rights, where this Article 3 is very explicit that when you demonstrate in defense of the Constitution, that is what a citizen is asked to do. And because of what happened, the bloodshed, the freedom lost, the lives lost, for us to get the 2010 Constitution, which is said to be one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, one of the cardinal duties of a citizen in Kenya is to defend it. And if anybody wants to trash it, then our 3 says they are actually attempting to establish a government otherwise than in compliance with the Constitution, and that is unlawful. And it means that actually where this government is going, it is trying trying to establish a government otherwise than in compliance with this constitution. And that is unlawful. I think that's something that needs to be emphasized. That a government can reach a point where it contradicts the constitution, and according to this constitution, therefore, even if the government was elected lawfully in a lawful way, then it transits into establishing some other form of government which is unlawful because it does not comply with the constitution. And I think that's something that needs to be repeated. And for those who are in office to be told that when you abrogate, most of the constitution, then it means that you are not carrying on a government as anticipated by this constitution, and therefore what you're doing is unlawful. I think, and that Dego and Milton and also Miguna, the general, this is something that they and others emphasized. You see, one thing that is very troubling is, by and large, those of us who grew during Moi actually was targeting mostly the senior people. And those days, the Railas, the Mutungas, he was targeting Matiba. He was targeting those senior people, and of course those who are assassinated. In terms of their autocracy, his dictatorship. But now what is happening is the current government and its leader is targeting young people, and more or less some of them like children. So this is really extremely worrying if the people that you target, not that you should target anybody, but if now you are transiting in targeting the very young and almost children, then it means, as was indicated, that there's an astounding level of desperation, and you're targeting them for simply expressing themselves in the way they know how. And in countries which are said to be democratic, presidents are told many things. They're even told we will impeach you, and there are even processes to impeach them, and processes to, do all sorts of things. For example, in America, in wherever. And, matters go to court. Even people who take matters to court, and they do all those things that democracies permit. And that doesn't mean, therefore, you abduct kids, you kill them, you do all sorts of things, you arrest them, you do all sorts of things. So even this is elementary, to know that there are boundaries, and you simply you have to swallow this. You have to know that this is the price you pay for being in leadership. You're in leadership to deliver. When you're not delivering, people will tell you that. It should make you improve. But you don't now declare war against them. And this, these are very, very, very ordinary things that anybody who has been in office, and especially in the Africa of, the 2020s, and in the world of the 2020s. So, after getting the Constitution in 2010, this 14 years later, and after, the struggle for the Constitution from 90s, 34 years later, you can't reverse it. It's the train has left station. You can't reverse the people, I think it was Ndegwa, who said, the tree of freedom, and, people, this generation of young people who have grown into freedom, you can't unfree them. And I think when this dawns on the leadership, and then, if possible, I don't know, they commit to other ways of dealing with the citizenry, then maybe there could be, a better situation, but I doubt. Now, these abductions are the new form of detention without trial, because previously, of course, under the other party, under the other constitution, the 1963 constitution is amended, you could detain people without trial. But because that facility is not available now, so now the abductions and those false arrests and stuff are the new detention without trial. And this can't sit well in our current situation, and this must be resisted. It must be resisted. Now, when you tell parents that I will stop abducting your children, when you tell them to behave, that is like using abductions to mobilize parents to support the president. And of course, we know that those of, people who are parents and of, kids who are 20, 30s and so on, they have their own mind. And we could be different from them in how they think, baby boomers, X, and so on. So one has to respect that. One has to see that as a way of growing. One has to say that these are the new ideas that are going to take the country, further ahead, and not for us to go back. Actually, the fundamental problem in our country is, like President Moy said, that Kanu will rule for 100 years. Meaning even when he was not around, people were in Kanu and all go into other parties, and it looks like it's not Kanu and it's still Kanu. So it means that we have to say whoever was in Kanu, we cannot trust them. And so we need, for leadership in this country, for people who are not in Kanu. Because we have learned that all those, even when they go into different political parties, when they are challenged, they come together, they regroup. And just to make two other points, one about Raila and another one about the judiciary, the thing that made me actually ask for the mic. Because Raila said that it is primitive to abduct young people. Since it is continuing, since it has not ceased, he should withdraw his ministers from the government. Because if he was to do that, we would say, yes, he meant what he said. That is what he should do. That is the honorable thing to do. And still, we continue to tell the president, and I was told by Miguna said, Ruto, that please leave these kids alone. And even the youth bill that is being brought is not a youth bill which is going to help young people at all. Let there be proper thinking about what is it that is bringing the young people to this level. Their disempowerment, their unemployment, their loss of hope and all that. That's the issue. You don't, treat them as if you are the one who has a problem, when it is them who have, all these problems. So what we must tell Raila is, you said it is primitive to abduct kids. Therefore, since it's continuing, and as it continues, then the honorable thing for you to do is to withdraw the Johos, the Oparanyas, all those fellows from government, so that we can believe in what you said. Now, for the judiciary, I must confess that I taught with Ahmed Nasir at the University of Nairobi. Even in his 20s, he became an acting dean. He was elected an acting dean of the Faculty of Law when he just started, teaching. And I want to say here that professionally, I have professionally, as we taught and so on. This is somebody that was, and I can say is somebody who has been a friend. I taught him. I taught Harvey, as well. And he was president. He was my president of Law Society of Kenya. But, and this is a big but, underlined in red, if this judiciary has been, it helped to get the BBI case when these political people wanted to change the constitution without, to change it just to suit them. The judiciary stopped that, the BBI thing. The judiciary, stopped these finance things, the housing thing. But of course, the 2023 came back. The judiciary recently has said that the university funding model is not the correct thing, and has said that should not proceed because it is getting many students out of education. Now, if you compare the judiciary, which is doing these things, and of course, one is not saying that there aren't corrupt people in the judiciary. And there are ways in the judiciary. If you believe that there is anybody who is corrupt, then you just proceed against them. You name them. You name them, and therefore, they can be, whether it's the Judicial Service Commission, whether it is in the courts of law, you do that. All those ways, and even their own internal systems, whatever it is, you do it so that then we can discuss, individual people. So I think that is really, what it is to be done. Now, if Martha Koome gets out, others get out, and we know that already the executive is held hostage. We know that the legislature is held hostage. Therefore, now what guarantee is there when a new judiciary is those at the top are being appointed? What guarantee is there that there will be people who are anti-juris pesa? Obviously not. And the idea is to hand out whoever is in the judiciary at the higher echelons, and then replace them with pliant people, and so it means that there is now all the arms of government will no longer be available to help the citizens. It will be the citizens squarely against the government. So I think I really wish that, particularly through the Law Society, I think that there can be more sobriety, and this matter is discussed, candidly. And even I think one of the big spaces should now be just on the judiciary. One of these spaces where some of these, like today, Hillary, should be on the judiciary, because we can be led the garden path, and we abort what is residual in terms of once in a while protecting our citizenry. So this is really, with a lot of respect to Ahmed Nasir, because this is somebody, we taught together for a long time, and, somebody who, you respect people, but then friendship also means that you tell somebody this is a slippery, very, very slippery path. Very slippery path. And therefore, we hope that somehow, I don't know how, but particularly Raila, who said that these abductions are primitive, since they are still continuing, for him to say, I will not participate in a government where primitive things are getting done. And I yield. And I thank you very much. And I say Happy New Year. Well, it can't be happy. Let's get into next year. And